The sun of Zithra hung low over the sprawling city of crystals and silver towers. Its light shimmered on the smooth surfaces of the palace, casting long reflections that danced like living beings across the marble floors. The palace was enormous, designed not just for living, but to remind all who entered of the queen's power and the long line of rulers before her. Queen Lyra walked slowly along the highest balcony, her gaze fixed on the horizon where the alien plains met the glowing mountains. She was a figure of authority and wisdom, her presence commanding respect without a word. Her mind, however, was troubled. Her daughter, Princess Alara, stood nearby, her eyes focused on the humans arriving in the landing bay. The humans had come at the request of the queen herself, and this visit was unlike any other. Alara, despite her calm exterior, felt a flicker of nervousness. She had spent her life in the shadow of her mother's expectations, and now those expectations took an entirely new form. She had been barren her whole life, a fact that weighed on both her and her mother. In their society, to lead without producing heirs was considered a weakness, a flaw in the lineage. The alien shuttle landed with a soft hum, its sleek metal frame glinting under Zithra's twin suns. A human figure stepped out, tall and upright, moving with a confidence that seemed natural yet foreign to the alien onlookers. Captain Aaron Vale was his name, and though he carried no weapons and wore no extravagant armor, his presence seemed to fill the courtyard. Humans had been studied for decades, noted for their adaptability and creativity, but none had been invited into the heart of the Queen's palace until now. Aaron walked forward slowly, observing the palace and the alien officials with careful interest. He was polite and calm, his eyes bright with curiosity. The alien courtiers whispered among themselves, their voices like wind chimes, uncertain how to react to a species that had never fully integrated into their understanding of the universe. Some scoffed at the idea of humans being equal to Zitharans in intellect or strength. Others, less openly, were fascinated by their resilience. Queen Lyra stepped forward, her robes flowing behind her, reflecting the light in subtle waves. She did not raise her voice. She didn't need to. Her aura alone commanded attention. "Captain Aaron Vale," she said, her voice calm and melodic, "welcome to Zithra. Your journey has been long, and I hope it has been safe." "Thank you, Your Majesty. It is an honor to be here," he replied. He had spent months preparing for this meeting, studying Zitharan customs and the delicate balance of power within the palace. Yet nothing could truly prepare a human for the weight of standing before a queen whose authority extended beyond mere governance. The queen's eyes turned to her daughter. "Ilara," she said softly, "you know why he has come." Marrying her to a human was unheard of, a radical experiment that could either secure the future of their line or bring scandal upon the royal family. The human captain observed the exchange, sensing the tension in the air. He did not yet understand the full extent of the queen's plan, only that it involved him, her daughter, and perhaps more than he could guess. Lyra raised her hand slightly, and the court fell silent. "Captain," she said, her eyes locking onto his with an intensity that made him take a small step forward. "Our daughter has been barren all her life, yet we believe that your species carries traits that may change that. You will marry Alara, and together you will represent the future of Zithra and the bridge between our species." The idea of marrying into alien royalty was extraordinary enough, but being chosen as the potential solution to a centuries-old problem was far beyond any diplomatic mission he had anticipated. I accept," Aaron said finally, his voice steady despite the whirlwind of thoughts in his mind. "I will honor the marriage and do everything in my power to support Alara and your people." Alara stepped closer to Aaron once the crowd had dispersed, studying him quietly. "You understand what this means," she said, her voice low but firm. "It's not just a marriage, it's an experiment in a way. My mother has high expectations, and the entire court will watch every move we make. I didn't come here to fail or to disrupt your culture. I came to learn, to adapt, and to help. If it helps you and your people, then I will do it." Perhaps it would succeed where alien methods had failed. The preparations for the marriage began immediately. The palace was a flurry of activity, tailors adjusting ceremonial robes, artisans crafting jewelry that incorporated both alien crystals and human metals, and the kitchens preparing dishes that merged two cultures in unexpected ways. Aaron spent the days observing and learning, asking questions politely, and quietly demonstrating that his species, creativity, could solve problems efficiently. When the day of the ceremony arrived, the palace was filled with light and sound. Crystalline chandeliers hung from impossibly high ceilings, refracting Zithara's sunlight into thousands of colors. Alara wore robes of flowing silver, embroidered with human and alien symbols of unity. Erin's ceremonial attire was simpler but elegant, blending human tradition with the queen's specifications. The ceremony itself was solemn yet magnificent. Lyra presided, guiding the words and gestures that would bind human and alien, daughter and husband, into a bond that symbolized not just marriage but potential legacy. The court watched with bated breath, some skeptical, some hopeful, and a few openly awed by the audacity of the queen's plan. When the vows were exchanged, there was a moment of silence, a pause so profound it seemed to echo through the palace itself. Alara and Erin stood side by side, linked not only by words but by the possibility of something neither had fully understood yet, a future where human and alien traits could combine in ways that might defy expectation. The queen studied the pair carefully, her mind racing with calculations. Could human adaptability truly influence alien biology? Could a barren princess become a mother through this union? She had seen humans accomplish remarkable feats, but this was untested at a scale that mattered to a dynasty. As the ceremony concluded, the crowd dispersed, leaving Alara and Erin in the quiet of the palace gardens. The twin suns were setting, painting the sky in brilliant shades of orange and violet. The air was fragrant with alien flowers, their petals glowing faintly in the fading light. Erin turned to Alara. "Do you think this will work?" he asked honestly. Humans were known for hope, but also for skepticism in the face of the unknown. Alara considered the question, watching a small hybrid bird, half alien, half human engineered, flutter between the glowing plants. "I don't know," she admitted, "but maybe that's the point. Maybe it doesn't need to work exactly as anyone expects. Maybe we just need to try." High above, Queen Lyra watched from her balcony, her eyes fixed on her daughter and the human who now shared her life. She felt a mix of hope and apprehension. The future was uncertain, and yet, for the first time in a long time, she allowed herself a flicker of wonder. Perhaps the human's resilience was more than legend. Perhaps, against all odds, her line would continue, not just through tradition, but through something extraordinary. And somewhere deep inside her, the queen sensed that this was only the beginning of a story far larger than any she had ruled or imagined. The first weeks after the ceremony were unlike anything Alara had ever experienced. The palace, usually quiet and precise, buzzed with activity. Human and alien cultures collided in unexpected ways, and Erin proved to be an unusual addition to life on Zithara. Alara had expected him to struggle, to stumble over alien customs, to offend someone with an innocent mistake. But instead, Erin adapted quickly. He studied Zitharan language with care, learning subtle nuances in pronunciation and etiquette. He asked questions when he didn't understand and observed more than he spoke. The court, initially skeptical, began to murmur quietly among themselves. Perhaps humans were not as fragile as their myth suggested. Erin moved through the palace with a calm purpose, finding ways to improve even the smallest aspects of life. He noticed how some devices in the palace used energy inefficiently and quietly modified a few mechanisms, making them work smoother. A water purification system had been failing for weeks, producing only half the expected output. By the second day, Erin had identified the flaw and repaired it using a combination of human engineering principles and alien technology. The palace steward watched him with a mix of astonishment and suspicion. "Alara," he said one evening as they walked through the glowing gardens, "your palace is incredible, but some things could be more efficient. Humans are used to fixing things quickly when they break. I think we can make this system better without changing its purpose." "You have confidence," she said, "for someone who doesn't fully understand our ways." Yet Erin's small victories, his quiet determination, began to ripple through the court. Some of the alien attendants who had been mocking him behind his back now whispered in admiration. Meanwhile, Lyra watched closely. She had hoped for change, but she had not anticipated how quickly Erin would begin to influence life in the palace. She saw him interact with Alara, not as a foreign being trying to survive, but as a partner, patient and thoughtful, yet firm when necessary. He reminded her of the resilience humans were famous for, the quality that allowed them to endure harsh environments and overcome impossible odds. As days turned into weeks, Alara began to notice subtle changes in herself. At first, it was a small shift in energy, a feeling of lightness she hadn't felt in years. She dismissed it as the excitement of the new marriage. But soon the signs became more obvious. One morning, as she walked in the palace garden with Aaron, she paused mid-step, her hand resting on her abdomen. I feel different, she said quietly, her voice tinged with wonder and disbelief. Aaron's eyes widened slightly, but he remained calm. Different how? Humans were resilient, yes, but Zitherans had long believed that her body was incapable of bearing children. The idea that life might begin inside her, influenced in some way by Aaron's human nature, seemed impossible. Yet her feelings were real. The possibilities made her both excited and fearful. Word of Alara's change reached the queen quickly. Lyra did not act immediately. She watched from a distance, analyzing every movement, every expression, every interaction. Was it real? Could humans' adaptability truly affect the alien biology that had failed to produce an heir for her daughter? In the palace laboratory, alien scientists were called to observe the situation. They ran tests, monitored Alara's health, and recalibrated devices that measured Zitharan biology. Even with all their technology, they could not fully explain what was happening. Aaron observed quietly, offering insights based on human biology and logic, bridging the gap between two species' understanding. "You must understand," he said to one of the scientists. "Humans have a way of adjusting to conditions that other species find impossible. It's not magic, it's adaptability and resilience. I think Alara's body is responding because humans bring something new, something your species has never experienced." Days passed and Alara's condition became more evident. She began to show subtle physical changes, a warmth in her body, a lightness that she had never experienced. Her energy increased, her mind sharpened, and for the first time in years she felt truly alive. Aaron supported her, learning her rhythms, adapting to her needs, and ensuring she was comfortable in the alien environment. Their bond grew stronger with each passing day. They shared meals that combined human and alien tastes, walked together under Zithara's twin suns, and spent quiet evenings discussing philosophies, science, and dreams. Aaron's calm presence became a pillar for Alara, and her strength became an inspiration to him. In the palace halls, whispers spread. The human and the princess were not just surviving, they were thriving together. The first major test of Aaron's ingenuity came unexpectedly. A small artifact, a device that controlled the flow of energy to the palace's outer defenses, malfunctioned. The result could have been catastrophic. Failing energy barriers might have exposed the city to the harsh storms of Zithara's plains, potentially endangering hundreds of lives. Aaron analyzed the device quickly. His human perspective allowed him to see a solution the Zitharan engineers had overlooked. He adjusted the mechanisms carefully, restoring the energy flow. When the system hummed back to life, the engineers stared at him in disbelief. "How did you see that?" one of them asked. Aaron shrugged. "Sometimes you just have to think differently. Humans often solve problems by looking at them from a new angle. It doesn't always make sense at first, but it works." The court began to view Aaron not as a foreign oddity, but as a valuable member of the palace, someone whose perspective could complement Zitharan intelligence. Even Lyra could not hide her growing respect, though she still kept her emotions carefully guarded. Alara, meanwhile, began to feel subtle movements inside her body, sensations that confirmed what she had begun to hope for. Life, it seemed, had truly taken root. She shared the news with Aaron quietly one evening as they watched the sunset from the balcony. "It's real," she whispered. "I can feel it. Something is growing." "You're not alone in this." Lyra observed quietly from her chambers. She had expected a controlled experiment, a calculated attempt to influence her daughter's biology, but what she saw was far more profound. Humans, she realized, carried something she could not measure with devices or logic. Their resilience, their patience, their ability to endure and adapt, it was extraordinary. And it was having an effect on her family, an effect she had never imagined. One evening, as the twin suns dipped below the horizon, Lyra walked to the balcony, silently watching Aaron and Alara walk hand in hand through the gardens. She felt a mixture of pride and astonishment. The human's impact was undeniable. Not only was her daughter experiencing the impossible, but the entire palace was beginning to recognize that human qualities, creativity, courage, and patience, could influence life in ways Zitharans had never anticipated. For the first time, Lyra allowed herself to imagine a future in which humans were more than visitors, more than tools of diplomacy. She could see a line of hybrid children, combining the best traits of both species, reshaping the expectations of her people and redefining what legacy truly meant. Alara leaned into Aaron as they walked, her voice soft. "Do you think this will change everything?" "I think it already is." And somewhere deep within the Queen's mind, a sense of awe began to grow, a feeling that would only become stronger as the story of humans and Zitherans continued to unfold in ways neither species could yet imagine. And in that moment, the palace was filled not with fear, not with doubt, but with the quiet hum of life. Human life and alien life beginning to intertwine in ways that promised something extraordinary. Months passed, and Alara's body continued to change in ways that amazed both humans and Zitherans. Each day brought new signs of life inside her, subtle movements that spoke of a growing future. Aaron remained by her side constantly, careful, observant, and patient. He learned the rhythms of her body, adjusted their routines to her comfort, and found ways to blend human methods with alien technology to make her life easier. The palace had begun to accept the idea that something extraordinary was happening. Courtiers whispered in corridors, sometimes in awe, sometimes in disbelief. Zitherans were intelligent, disciplined, and logical, but humans, they had long been told, were fragile. Yet here was proof that human qualities could influence life in ways their science had never predicted. Alara often walked in the gardens with Aaron. The alien flora responded to her touch, petals glowing slightly under her fingertips. She marveled at the harmony of two worlds, the human and the alien intertwining in her own body. "Do you think the children will be like us?" she asked one evening, her voice soft, almost hesitant. Aaron looked at her, holding her hands gently. "I don't know, maybe a little like us, maybe something new. But I do know this, whatever they are, they'll be strong, smart, and able to adapt. That's in their nature because it's in us." They measured Alara's health daily, noting the extraordinary changes. Zitharan medical devices, which had predicted barrenness, now detected rapid growth and life developing inside her. They recalibrated instruments constantly, unable to fully understand the phenomenon. Aaron contributed human insight, explaining the ways human biology and resilience might interact with Zitharan physiology. The combination of two species, knowledge created a synergy no one had anticipated. One day, as Alara rested in her chambers, she felt the first clear movement of life inside her. It was small but unmistakable, a gentle, rhythmic pulse that made her gasp. Aaron was at her side immediately, holding her hand, eyes wide with wonder. "They're here," she whispered. "I can feel them." She had never witnessed life begin where her science had predicted impossibility, and she had certainly never seen a human's influence appear so profound. As the months continued, the children's growth accelerated in ways no one had expected. Alara's body became a living bridge between species. The palace began to prepare for the birth, adjusting living quarters, creating new nurseries, and training caregivers in both human and alien practices. Aaron helped design tools to monitor and nurture the unborn children, combining human ingenuity with alien technology. Outside the palace, whispers among the nobles began to stir unease. Some were fascinated by the miracle, others were fearful. A hybrid child, born of human and alien, challenged Zitharan ideas about power, lineage, and purity. If the children thrived, it could change everything. They saw Aaron as an outsider, someone influencing the royal family and reshaping the future. Lyra, however, remained composed. She knew the importance of observation and careful judgment. She watched her daughter with awe as Alara navigated the changes in her body with courage and strength. She watched Aaron provide support with patience and intelligence. She saw a new kind of leadership forming, one that combined human ingenuity with alien wisdom. The first hybrid child was born on a clear morning under the twin suns of Zithara. The palace was prepared, yet no one, not even the queen, could predict the outcome. When the cries of life echoed through the delivery chamber, Lyra approached, her expression unreadable. Alara, exhausted but radiant, held the newborn gently. The child was small but perfect, with features that reflected both species. Its skin had a subtle shimmer, eyes bright and alert, and a presence that seemed almost magnetic. Aaron knelt beside them, holding both mother and child, a quiet pride in his expression. Lyra stepped closer, her gaze fixed on the child. For a moment she froze. The child's eyes met hers, intelligent and curious beyond expectation. It was as if the future had arrived in the form of this single being, a living testament to human resilience and adaptability. The palace fell silent as the queen observed. This was not merely a child, it was proof. Proof that humans could influence life in ways no one had imagined. proof that Alara's body, once deemed incapable, had become a vessel for something extraordinary. And proof that the combination of species could create a new path forward, one that might redefine Zitharan society forever. Aaron lifted the child slightly, showing it to Lyra. "Your Majesty," he said, "this is the first of a new generation. They are strong, adaptable, and intelligent, and they are yours to guide just as much as ours to care for." Her mind raced, calculating possibilities and outcomes, weighing tradition against the undeniable truth before her. She had feared that this union was a gamble, a risk to her lineage. Yet here in her hands was the living result of courage, hope, and human ingenuity. Alara rested against Aaron, her energy spent but her spirit high. "They're alive," she whispered, tears in her eyes. "We did this together." It could mimic gestures, understand basic instructions, and respond to its environment with surprising adaptability. The palace staff, initially wary, began to respect the child's capabilities. Even skeptical scientists had to admit that something remarkable was occurring. Aaron worked closely with them, explaining human-child development techniques and helping them adapt to a hybrid species. Lyra observed everything silently, learning not just about the child, but about the humans themselves. She began to recognize qualities she had never valued fully before: patience, courage, empathy, and an unyielding determination to solve problems creatively. These were traits that humans had carried across the stars, traits that now shaped her daughter's line and promised a future unlike any she had imagined. Outside the palace, nobles began to murmur and speculate. Some feared the implications of hybrid children, believing that their rise could threaten traditional power structures. Others were quietly fascinated, curious about what the future might hold. Humans had always been seen as outsiders, but Aaron's actions and the evidence of his children's abilities challenged everything they had believed. One evening, Lyra summoned Aaron and Alara to her chambers. She had remained distant, careful, observing quietly, but now she spoke. "Your child," she said slowly, "is unlike any Zitharan we have ever known. It moves, thinks, and responds in ways we cannot fully explain. And you, Aaron, have shown patience, courage, and wisdom beyond what I expected from your species. I only help where I can." For the first time, she felt not only love for her child, but confidence that her line could continue in ways that honored both species. Humans had been underestimated, and yet here was the proof. Life had taken root where it was least expected, guided by courage, intelligence, and the willingness to face the impossible. The palace settled into a new rhythm. Aaron continued his work, blending human ingenuity with Zitharan methods, while Alara nurtured her child, growing stronger each day. The hybrid child thrived, demonstrating traits that would shape its world and the generations to come. Lyra, once cautious and calculating, allowed herself to hope. She had frozen in disbelief when she first saw her grandchild, but now she understood. This was the beginning of a new era, one where human resilience and alien wisdom could coexist, creating possibilities beyond imagination. And deep in the palace gardens, under the twin suns of Zithara, Alara and Aaron watched their child explore, guided by instinct, curiosity, and the quiet lessons of two worlds coming together. The future had arrived, and it was brighter, bolder, and more extraordinary than anyone had dared to imagine. Life in the palace had changed completely. The first hybrid child, now several months old, had grown stronger and more aware than anyone could have imagined. Every day brought new surprises. The child learned to walk with astonishing balance on the crystal floors, responded to commands, and showed curiosity beyond its years. Its laughter, a clear, joyful sound, filled the halls and even softened the stern expressions of some palace officials. Alara watched her child with pride and wonder. Each milestone was a victory, not just for her or Aaron, but for the entire palace. She often found herself marveling at the small ways humans and Zitharans combined to produce something entirely new. It was as if life itself was weaving a bridge between two worlds. Aaron, too, felt a quiet joy. He spent hours teaching the child words, gestures, and small games, combining human methods with Zitharan expectations. Even the palace scientists, initially skeptical, began to take notes, realizing that human approaches to nurturing and learning could enhance Zitharan understanding of development. The palace staff, once wary, had grown accustomed to the child's presence. They began to recognize that the hybrid's abilities were extraordinary, but never threatening. It was a new kind of life, one that demonstrated both species' strengths. Some staff even admitted privately that humans were far more capable than they had been led to believe. However, not all reactions were positive. Outside the palace, certain nobles and military leaders grew uneasy. To them, hybrid children were a threat to tradition, a challenge to the established order. They whispered about the danger of combining human resilience with Zitharan intelligence. Some feared the hybrids might surpass them in power, influence, and ability. Lyra, aware of the growing tension, decided to take measured action. She summoned Aaron and Alara to discuss the future of their children. Her face, usually composed and distant, showed a flicker of concern. "There are those who question the existence of your child," she said softly. "They fear change, and they fear what they do not understand. You must be prepared to protect them as we guide them. Together, we will keep them safe and help them thrive." She had never imagined that a human could inspire such confidence and hope. Perhaps, she thought, the humans had a kind of power Zitharans lacked, a power rooted not in technology or strength, but in resilience, creativity, and the ability to adapt to any challenge. Days later, an incident in the palace brought the lesson of resilience to the forefront. A minor quake unusual for Zithara shook the city. Crystals in the palace walls rattled and some smaller structures collapsed. The hybrid child, though young, sensed danger immediately. It cried out sharply, alerting the servants and even Alara and Aaron, who were nearby. Aaron sprang into action, guiding Alara and the child to a safer section of the palace. He coordinated with palace engineers, using his human problem-solving skills to stabilize parts of the structure until Zitharan technology could fully repair it. The child, meanwhile, stayed close to its mother, showing awareness and calm beyond its age. After the quake passed, many nobles and officials began to whisper among themselves, realizing that the hybrid child's instincts, combined with human guidance, had prevented potential disaster. It was a small moment, but it reinforced the growing belief that humans and hybrids of humans and Zitharans could bring balance and innovation to a world previously bound by tradition. As months went by, Alara's second child was born. This one, like the first, demonstrated remarkable abilities from the start. The palace staff marveled at their intelligence, adaptability, and problem-solving skills. Each child, though different in appearance and temperament, carried traits from both parents: human courage, empathy, and adaptability, combined with Zitharan intelligence, precision, and resilience. Aaron took a keen interest in observing their development. He noticed patterns, learning methods that seemed intuitive to humans but alien to Zitharans. He shared his insights with palace scientists, helping them understand how hybrid children could grow to surpass expectations without threatening the balance of society. The queen watched all of this quietly. She had begun to see the hybrid children not as anomalies, but as a new hope for her people. She observed their growth, their ability to learn quickly, and their unique combination of skills. Her initial hesitation and fear had transformed into admiration and cautious optimism. Perhaps humans had been underestimated all along. Tension in the palace continued, however. Some noble families grew restless, fearing that hybrid children would disrupt traditional hierarchies. Rumors began to circulate of secret gatherings, plans to challenge the queen's decisions, and strategies to undermine Aaron's influence. Lyra knew that confrontation was inevitable. The question was how to face it without unnecessary bloodshed. One evening, Lyra called a council meeting. The chamber was filled with nobles, advisors, and key palace figures. The mood was tense. She addressed them calmly, her voice echoing against the crystal walls. "We face a choice," she said. "Change is not easy, but it is inevitable. These children represent a future where our strengths are combined with the strengths of others. They are not a threat, but a promise. These children carry that ability, and your world will be stronger because of it. Fear is natural, but it must not stop progress. Together, we can guide them safely into a future that benefits all." Lyra observed carefully, noting who would support the children and who might oppose them. Over the following weeks, the palace faced smaller challenges: rumors, tests of loyalty, and minor sabotage attempts. Each time, Aaron and Alara handled the situations with careful intelligence. The hybrid children, though still young, began to display abilities that helped avert crises, guiding servants to safety, alerting guards to hidden dangers, and learning solutions to small problems before anyone else noticed them. One morning, a group of nobles attempted to interfere with palace operations, questioning the legitimacy of the hybrid children and demanding their removal. Lyra, Aaron, and Alara confronted them together. The queen's voice was calm but firm. "These children are the future," she said. They are strong, intelligent, and capable. They will be guided and protected. Anyone who threatens them will face the consequences. I am here to ensure that these children, born of human and Zitharan qualities, thrive. You may doubt them, but they will show you what courage, intelligence, and adaptability can achieve. The children's abilities, their calm presence, and the parents' dedication created a force that could not be ignored. Over time, resistance weakened, replaced by curiosity and cautious acceptance. Alara watched the children grow stronger each day. They learned quickly, solved small problems instinctively, and displayed empathy toward both humans and Zitharans. Their laughter and joy filled the palace halls, softening the hearts of those who had once doubted them. Aaron continued to guide the children, teaching them skills that combined human creativity with Zitharan precision. He introduced simple experiments, problem-solving games, and lessons in observation. Each success reinforced the growing belief that hybrid children could surpass expectations and lead the world into a new era. Lyra, standing on her balcony one evening, observed the children playing in the gardens. Their movements were fluid, their curiosity boundless. She felt a mixture of awe and humility. Humans had been underestimated, yes, but their qualities, their resilience, ingenuity, and courage, had become the foundation of something extraordinary. Her lineage, once threatened by barrenness, was now secured in ways she had never imagined. And as the twin suns set over the horizon, painting the sky in shades of gold and violet, the palace hummed with life and promise. The hybrid children had become more than heirs. They were symbols of possibility. Two worlds had come together, not through conquest or force, but through courage, intelligence, and compassion. The story of human and Zitharan collaboration was just beginning, and the palace walls seemed to glow with the quiet certainty that the future would be brighter, stronger, and wiser because of it. The queen finally understood. She had once feared the unknown, doubted the human's abilities, and questioned her daughter's fate. Now she saw the truth clearly. Life had found a way, strength had emerged from courage, and the hybrid children were the living proof that humans, though underestimated, could change the course of history. And deep inside, Lyra felt the stirrings of hope, a hope that would guide her people, protect her grandchildren, and build a bridge between two worlds that had never truly connected before. The palace was alive with energy, brighter than ever. The hybrid children had grown quickly, each one showing remarkable abilities that combined the best of both species. Their curiosity, intelligence, and adaptability had already surpassed many expectations. Yet the world outside the palace remained cautious, watching closely to see if these new heirs could truly thrive. One morning, an urgent alert reached the palace. A massive storm was approaching Zithara's plains, one far larger and more dangerous than any in living memory. It threatened the outer city and the surrounding villages. The palace's defensive systems, though advanced, could not contain the storm alone. Panic began to ripple through the city as officials scrambled to prepare for impact. Aaron immediately began coordinating with the palace engineers. Using a combination of human problem-solving and Zitharan technology, he devised a plan to reinforce the barriers and redirect energy flows to protect the city. Alara stood beside him, ready to help, her calm determination inspiring everyone around her. The hybrid children, though still young, instinctively understood the danger. They followed instructions with precision, alerting workers to structural weaknesses, assisting in organizing supplies, and even helping to guide villagers to safer areas. Their presence was extraordinary. Where adults struggled to act quickly under pressure, the children's intuition and intelligence brought clarity. Lyra observed from the balcony, her eyes wide with awe. The queen had faced countless crises in her life, but she had never seen such coordination, courage, and intelligence in beings so young. These children, born of human and Zitharan lineage, were capable of thinking and acting beyond what she had thought possible. She felt both pride and humility, pride for her grandchildren and humility in recognizing the depth of human potential. As the storm approached, Aaron led the palace team in deploying protective measures. He explained each step carefully, ensuring both humans and Zitharans understood the plan. The hybrid children moved alongside him, using their natural abilities to anticipate problems before they occurred. One child noticed a small breach in a secondary energy barrier and immediately signaled the engineers, who corrected it before any damage could occur. The storm hit with a roar, wind, and rain battering the palace walls. Crystals shimmered under the violent energy, but the protective systems held firm. guided by Aaron's strategy and reinforced by the children's quick actions. The palace endured, and the city outside suffered only minor damage thanks to their careful planning. When the storm finally passed, the city was safe. Workers and officials emerged from shelter, looking around in amazement at the minimal destruction. Whispers spread quickly. These hybrid children, aided by Aaron, had not only survived the storm but had helped save countless lives. They had proven their worth not by strength or power but through intelligence, courage, and adaptability. Lyra descended to meet Aaron and Alara in the palace courtyard. She looked at the children who played calmly nearby despite the chaos of the storm. "You have done more than I imagined," she said quietly. "I doubted humans once, but now I see your potential. Your children, they are truly extraordinary. They are learning from all of us, and they will continue to grow stronger, facing challenges we cannot yet imagine." They were not perfect, but their combination of human intuition and Zitharan precision created solutions that no single species could achieve alone. Some of the nobles, once skeptical or fearful, began to accept the children's place in society. They observed the hybrids in action and realized that fear had been replaced by admiration. Humans had been underestimated, yes, but their qualities, resilience, adaptability, and intelligence, had reshaped the expectations of Zitharans in ways no one could ignore. Lyra watched carefully, guiding the transition with wisdom and patience. She allowed the hybrid children to take on responsibilities appropriate to their age, teaching them the importance of leadership, ethics, and cooperation. Aaron and Alara provided support, encouraging the children to trust their instincts while respecting the rules of their world. One afternoon, a young hybrid child noticed a weakness in the palace's outer defenses, a crack that had gone unnoticed. It quickly alerted the palace engineers, who repaired the breach before it could grow. This small act reinforced a powerful lesson. The children were not just heirs. They were problem solvers, leaders, and protectors in training. Lyra called a council meeting to address the future of the hybrid line. The chamber was filled with nobles, advisors, and key figures. The atmosphere was tense, but there was a sense of curiosity and anticipation. "These children," Lyra began, her voice steady, "represent a new path for our people. They combine the best qualities of both species, human resilience, courage, and adaptability alongside Zitharan intelligence, precision, and wisdom. They are not a threat, they are a promise. With guidance, they will not only thrive, they will lead, inspire, and protect your world. They are the bridge between our species." Slowly, resistance gave way to cautious acceptance. As the council concluded, Lyra turned to her grandchildren who were quietly observing from the side. She smiled, a rare warmth in her eyes. "You are the future," she said softly, "and the future is brighter because of you." They had already proven themselves in small ways, but the Queen's words gave them purpose. They were not just children of two worlds. They were leaders in training, capable of facing challenges with courage and intelligence. Over the following years, the palace continued to thrive. Aaron and Alara nurtured their children carefully, blending human methods with Zitharan traditions. The hybrid children continued to grow stronger, more intelligent, and more capable. They became symbols of hope, not only within the palace but throughout Zithara. The Queen, once cautious and calculating, now embraced the changes fully. She recognized the value of human qualities, resilience, courage, and creativity, and allowed those qualities to shape her people's future. She had once feared what humans could bring to her world, but now she understood that their potential was limitless when combined with the wisdom of Zitharans. The palace stood as a testament to collaboration, innovation, and the strength of unity. Humans and Zitharans, once distant and separate, now worked together to create a world stronger than either could achieve alone. The hybrid children were at the center of this transformation, demonstrating through action the value of courage, intelligence, and adaptability. As the twin suns set over Zithara, Lyra watched her grandchildren play in the palace gardens. Their laughter and curiosity filled the air, a reminder that the future was alive and full of promise. She felt a deep sense of fulfillment. Her line, once threatened by barrenness, had become the foundation of a new era, one built on hope, cooperation, and the extraordinary qualities of humans. Aaron and Alara stood together, watching their children explore and learn. They felt pride and awe at the beings they had helped create, beings who combined the strengths of two worlds to face challenges with courage and intelligence. They knew that the future was uncertain, but they also knew that their children were ready. The Queen finally understood what humans could achieve when given the chance. She had frozen in disbelief when she first saw her grandchildren, but now she smiled, fully aware that these children were the living proof of human potential. They were not merely heirs. They were pioneers, leaders, and symbols of a new dawn for Zithera. And in that moment, the palace, the city, and the people of Zithera felt a quiet but powerful truth. Courage, intelligence, and resilience could change the course of history. Two worlds had come together, not through conquest, but through cooperation, trust, and the extraordinary qualities that made humans and their children shine. The twin suns dipped below the horizon, casting golden light over the palace gardens. The hybrid children laughed and played, exploring, learning, and growing stronger. Lyra, Aaron, and Alara watched in quiet pride, knowing that the future had arrived, not as a distant dream, but as a living, breathing reality. It was a future full of hope, full of strength, and full of the undeniable proof that humans could rise, adapt, and thrive anywhere, even among the stars.